power. It is the potential of power, but it is not power in and of itself. Power is only created in what you do with what you know. Look, there are a lot of really smart people who are geniuses, who are broke because knowledge is not something you can take to the bank. It is only action that produces results. In America, we've got this statistic. 44% of doctors who tell you how poor eating and lack of exercise will kill you, and these people, 44% of them are overweight. Or as the philosopher Morpheus said, there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. So as I give you this morning, I'm going to reveal to you the fundamental keys to success. When I give them to you, I don't want you to say inside your head, oh, I already know that. Instead, I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. Number 1 is, are you doing that? Because you might know it, and you've known it for a long time, but are you doing it? And the second question is, maybe you're doing it, but have you mastered it? In other words, is there still something in which you can level yourself up to get better at it so that now that might ignite the results in your life? And the third most important question is, you might know it, you might be doing it, but would your results prove that you've mastered it? In other words, would your waistline prove that you've mastered these principles? Would your business prove that you've mastered these principles? If we called your spouse and asked them, have they indeed mastered these principles of success? And if you're saying to yourself, well, just don't call my spouse, you see, there's still something here yet to learn. Because as Samuel Johnson said, people need to be reminded more often than they need to be instructed. So even if I just take some of the things you already know in the back of your mind, bring them to the front of your mind, clear all the rest of the clutter out, and make it clear, step by step, exactly what you've got to do. Now maybe what you know applied can ignite the results that you've always been capable of achieving, but got too distracted and were too inconsistent to follow through with. So that's what we're going to do here. I want to give you the operating system underneath which all success is built on top of. It's kind of like this. You could take the world's greatest software, designed by the greatest engineers in the world, tens of millions of dollars invested in it. And if you take that software and you install it on a computer that has a faulty operating system, what happens? It's buggy, it crashes, doesn't operate to its potential. Now the user might make the mistake of thinking, oh, I know what happened. It's that terrible software. The software's the problem. No, it was the operating system that was the problem. So this is what happens. People go to a seminar, they read a book, they listen to a CD program, and then it doesn't work. It's buggy, it crashes. And they make the mistake of going, oh, that book, that seminar didn't work. No. It was just installed on a crappy operating system, and that's why it was buggy and it crashed and it didn't operate to its potential. So what we have to do together here is, we have to get your operating system operating at world-class standards so that it is perfect in its execution, that its operation is world-class. Then we can layer on top of that the leadership software, the sales software, the circle of champions software, the parenting, the marriage software. And maybe now, for the first time, once installed, it actually will perform to its capability. So that's what we're up to here. Here's my goal. I'm going to lay out for you a system that, if applied, will enable you to set goals that when you walked in here this morning, you were too afraid to set for yourself. Now, why are you too afraid to set the kind of goals that you're truly capable of, but won't allow yourself to live up to? And I think it's because you can't see how it's possible. It just seems silly. It seems too fantastical. But I believe if I can show you an exact stepping stone process to achieving those great goals, that you'll finally, when you leave here, set the kind of goals that are actually consistent with your true potential. And my goal, ultimately, the results that I want to see is 12 to 18 months from now, the person you become is unrecognizable to the person sitting in your chair right now. You have a much leaner, stronger, vital body. You have more intimate relationships with the people that you love and care about. You have a thriving ACN business, and you're walking across this stage as a circle of champion. Those results are possible if you stick with me over the next several minutes. This is a working session. I'm not the only one working up here. If you really want to change your life, change the trajectory, find yourself on this stage, we got to do a little bit of work, okay? So you're not going to be able to get everything that I put down here. I know you're taking photos of the slides. I always promise ACN, because I love this organization and want to see it succeed, that I'll give you my entire slide deck, okay? I'll show you how to get the whole slide deck. I'll give you a recording, an audio recording of this whole talk so that you can listen to it. You can share it with your team, okay? I only ask that you do not publish it publicly, okay? This is just for you, just for ACN, just for you and your team. So I'll show you how to do that in a second here. What we're going to do is we're going to rewire the lines of code in your operating system. Between you and any goal that you've got is this operating system. So line by line, we're going to rewire your operating system. So what is the root control factor? If we were to boil everything down to the most core controlling factor to all the results in your life, what does it come down to? Because here's what happens. We all come into this world exactly the same. Naked, scared, and ignorant, right? I mean, some of us a little uglier than others, but basically all the same. Naked, scared, and ignorant. And then after that grand entrance, your life is controlled by one factor. There's only one thing that will determine whether at the end of a life you end up living here or whether you end up living here. There's only one thing that determines whether you end up driving this or whether you end up driving this. One controlling factor determines whether at the end of a long life you end up lonely, despondent, and broke, or you end up in a marriage of 50 plus years of incredible intimacy and great bliss. Only one thing will determine whether you get to send your children to the greatest universities in the world, or no matter what it is that they qualified for, they can't go because you can't afford it. Only one thing will determine whether you get to donate to your charity, to your greatest heart's content, whether you get to travel the world in fantastic luxury. Did you all see the movie City Slickers? Curly said, it all comes down to one thing. Your whole life comes down to one thing. What's the one thing? Choices. Circle of champion answer right up front. It all comes down to choices. Right now, as you sit there in your chair, right now, your whole life is nothing but the accumulated compound effect of the choices you've made up to this moment. Right now, your waistline is nothing but the accumulated compound effect of the choices you've made up to this moment. The size of your business, your bank account, the intimacy of the relationships in your life are all just an outcome of the compounded choices you've made up to this point. So if we're going to change the trajectory of your life starting today, starting right now, we've got to go to where the control factor of it all begins, and it all begins with choices. Choices is the first line of code in rewiring your operating system. So let's do it. What choices? Because we're presented with hundreds of choices all day throughout the day. What choices matter the most? Anybody here ever been bitten by an elephant? Well, what about mosquitoes? Anybody ever been bitten by a mosquito? Bill Gates says this is the most deadly animal on the planet for the human species. And it's also one of the smallest. See, nature provides clues. It's the little things in life that will bite you and kill you. So is it true about your choices. When you take a look at the 7 billion people on the planet, a question I'm asked a lot is, we only get to pick 12 people to be on the cover of Success magazine out of 7 billion. And I'm asked, what do these guys do? to become so successful? What separated them from everybody else? Well, let me tell you what they did not do, because this is what everybody thinks they did to get to the cover of Success magazine. Success is not a result of some heroic feats. Nobody you see on the cover of Success magazine did anything heroic. It is not because of some grand act of bravery. You know, you do not leap and hope that the net appears. Don't do that. That ends in calamity. And they didn't perform any quantum leap. It wasn't just right place, right time, as Trump said yesterday. Yes, luck plays a part, but it only plays a part after you've worked your butt off. So it wasn't any grand act of luck either. Success is, if you're looking for the answer of what caused these people to get on the cover of Success magazine, success is a result of small, seemingly insignificant, moment-to-moment choices. The only thing that separates them from you is that accumulated compound effect of those little choices that created dramatic differences in results. Small little choices like at lunch, you're given a menu. And what is a menu? It's just a series of choices, right? Do you pick the hamburger and fries, or do you pick the salad? Now you're thinking, that doesn't seem like that big of a choice. I'm telling you, it is. Small little choices like, at the end of a long, hard day, do you stop by the gym and put in a workout, or do you rush home to catch your favorite sitcom? Small little choices like, in the heat of an argument with your spouse, do you walk out of the room and say, I'm not going to deal with this? Or do you spin on your heels, say you're sorry, and choose to make a moment of magic? Small little choices like, in a networking event, do you walk across the room and introduce yourself to that person? You're a little bit afraid to do so, or do you hunker down in fear one more time? Small little choices like, at the end of a long day, do you put in a few more phone calls, or do you just simply call it a day? You see, these small choices add up to big, gargantuan differences in results. Let me give you a reference point in which to associate this with. If I were to give you a choice of a single cent, a single penny, that doubles every day for 31 days, or €1,000,000 in cash right now, how many people would take the €1,000,000 in euro? Okay, tough crowd. All right. Let me sweeten the offer here a little bit. A single cent that doubles every day for 31 days, or €2,000,000 cash right here today. How many people take the 2,000,000 in euro? Okay, a couple more converts. All right, last offer, okay? Penny that doubles every day for 31 days, or 3,000,000 in euro right now, right here today. How many people take the 3,000,000 in euro? Okay. Well, let's say that you were paying attention and you said, small things add up to big results. I better pick the small thing. There's a clue there. And let's say that you picked the penny, okay? But your neighbor at home picked the 3,000,000 euro in cash. So now we're going to start proceeding in life. We get 5 days down the road and your measly penny is worth 16 cents, okay? While your neighbor has $3,000,000 in cash, and you can hear the parties going on next door, right? When you get 10 days down the road, your penny has become €5.12. Not enough for a Happy Meal at McDonald's, right? But your neighbor is drinking champagne, eating caviar, having Robin Leach over for dinner, right? Now, we get 20 days down the road and your penny is still 5,242 euro, and they've got $3,000,000 in cash, 3,000,000 euro in cash, and partying like a rock star. It's not until we get to day 31 that we see the dramatic outcome of this compounding penny, where your penny is turned into 10,737,000 against their paltry 3,000,000. Now, what you need to know about this is the reason why Einstein called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. Because the math between day 1 and day 2 is exactly the same math between day 30 and day 31. Nothing's different.